Welcome back to Meant to Be Singles Retreat.
Now that we've had some fun, it's time for our group discussion.
This will allow them to go deeper, beyond the surface and the superficial.
We want our singles to seriously think about what they want in a partner and share their thoughts in a more meaningful conversation.
What do you see for just something 2 years?
I see myself definitely graduated with my degree. I see myself owning a home. I see myself owning my own business. I see myself definitely married by then.
In 2 years, I see myself married. I also see myself not in South Carolina. Not in South Carolina. I see my business expanding. Right now, we have a brick and mortar, but I see it more virtually in some type of way. I don't really know what that looks like. Definitely expanding beyond just skincare. I also see myself just planning for the future, planning for children. That's something that I definitely want to have, not immediately, but it depends what God wants.
Right.
I have my plans, but He always does something better. But I definitely see myself just growing in just what God called me to do, especially in just like my purpose, which is encouraging women. So, yeah.
Ooh, in 2 years. Yes, Lord. I say I see myself finishing school. So currently I just graduated. Well, I didn't just graduate, but I'm going back to get my master's and pursue my passion, which is mental health. And so I want to get my LPC, and it takes about 2 years. And then from there on, I want to basically start, going to entrepreneurship and things of that nature. But obviously, I want to be married, but I wouldn't say 2 years. I say in about a year or so, maybe a year and a half. Whatever the Lord is willing to do. I don't put no time limit on Him. So yeah, that's what I see myself, and then having lots of babies, however many He want to give me. And that's about it.
I would like to know, for those that I've been fortunate enough to see today, what is your current view on men of today, and what is it? Give me one quality that you want in your man.
I just feel like the dating scene sucks in general. A lot of people are, I wouldn't say superficial, but a lot of people are big on social media culture and the hookup culture, and it kind of takes away from people actually being authentic and getting to really be real with one another. And one quality I would like to see in my future husband is a man of faith, man of God. We can lead there and then work for the other stuff.
Today, men and dating is just a little different than I feel like back in the days. Like, I just kind of feel like it's almost as if the men feel like they're thirsty if they want to pursue a woman, and the woman is supposed to chase them. And I don't know, it's just like she said, social media, and just, I don't know, I guess there's a new idea in men's head that it's supposed to be that way. I'm not sure, but I feel like it's been kind of difficult because of those reasons. And not saying that, all the women are just the best thing since sliced bread because they have their ways, but I just feel like right now it's kind of hard dating men when it's almost feeling like it's like, well, I like her, but I'm not going to approach her or something like that. It feels like that sometimes because they don't want to feel like they're being thirsty or chasing. What I would prefer in a man, my spouse, is someone, of course, who loves God, because I always, and I stand by this, that a man who loves God and fears God, he's going to love me correctly because he fears God enough, and he's going to love himself because he understands that loving God and loving himself, he would love his wife, as God said, love your wife as you love yourself. No man hates himself. So, yeah.
I just feel like some men, not all men, they're not their authentic self. I see or hear about a lot of Christian men who will say that they're a Christian man, but their actions are totally different. Just men trying to sleep with a woman, but yet you're supposed to be a Christian man with Christian values. So that's one thing. For me, for my husband, I want a husband who is very prayerful in his decision making, prayerful in his actions, prayerful on how he leads his family. I think prayer is key to any marriage, to the success of the marriage. And when we can come together and pray, even if we have a disagreement on something, I know that if he's gone to God about that, then I'm okay, even if it makes me uncomfortable.
How do you guys deal with that conflict?
I would definitely say pray about it first and then address the situation, bring it up. Don't, hide it, try to stuff it down. I'm a firm believer in just telling the truth, being honest, being transparent, and trying to come to a mutual understanding. For me, I know in the past, like I've just kind of stuffed it down and not addressed it, but I've seen the results of that. So as I've matured, I've seen the benefit of just addressing it head on, if you can, and just being honest. And I know for me, the Lord's going to check me anyways, like always, like you shouldn't have said that, you shouldn't have did that. And it's like, okay, I'm humble enough to say, I'm sorry. Can you forgive me? But definitely just hitting it straight on, because if you just let it fester, it's just gonna grow and just like cause division between you two ultimately. So
Depending on the situation, obviously you would have to pray, but depending on the situation, they may need to calm down or give them some time to kind of think, because there may have been some things said. So definitely giving them time and then going to them saying like, hey, is everything okay? I know we just had, something happened. So how can we move forward from here? What does that look like? I'm a person of just trying to figure out a solution. My friends call me a solutionist. Like I'm always trying to resourceful with all the things. So I'm always looking for answers to make things better. And so if he's willing, whoever he is, then from there, then we can make it, make it better.
As adults, we are obviously serious, but sometimes you just have to unwind and go back to being a child. What brings out your inner child?
what brings out my inner child? I may have to think on that. For me, it would be doing something that, like when I was little, I used to have like this huge imagination. So I would want to be everything. I wanted to be like a vet, a pediatrician, a scientist, all those things. So just doing something that can be creative and just kind of just let my mind just go. So if it's painting, if it's drawing, if it's doing something in the kitchen, just something I just don't have to think too much about, and just, okay, if I mess up on this, let's just go with it and not just be so like thinking about it.
I would say I'm mature, but I feel like I have I'm very childlike, just spirit wise. I have a lot of energy. And so what brings it out? I don't think there's anything that brings it out. I think it's already there. But I have moments where I can be very mature in all the things, but I have very childlike faith and things of that nature. Um, but I do love arcades and theme parks, and I love music and things of that nature. So I guess that's what brings it out of me. I don't know, and then being around family and, you know, I don't know. That's just me in general.
Yeah, I'm just gonna piggyback off of that right there. Like I love to go to amusement parks, I don't know, make pancakes, eat peanut, but like the things that I did in my childhood, I still do today. And that's about it. Yeah. In your marriage, what does like leadership look like for you?
I've never been married before, but what I imagine it would look like, um, first and foremost, prayer, communicating with God in, through all things, making sure that when I'm speaking to my wife, I'm speaking her using um, the wisdom of God through His Word. That whenever we are going somewhere, whenever we are doing something together, that I just make sure I put him first. And by putting him first, I'm sure he will lead and direct me in what he has for us to accomplish and do.
What does humility look like for you?
For me, humility, I feel like all my life I've been a very humble person. Reason being, I grew up in a church where one of the first things they taught was to serve. And I feel like one of the best ways in life to learn humility is through serving. It's just something in, for example, in communion. I don't know how you guys grew up, but I grew up in an old school church where you have to wash someone's feet, wash their hands. Um, if we're having a conference, I've been in a position where I've served food to the homeless. And being in those situations, and those situations will really humble you because it shows you um, life from a different perspective. It allows you to open up your eyes, your mind, how life could have been, where God um, has placed you. So humility in that aspect, I feel like that's what pretty much humility truly I've learned humility through that. If anyone were to get to know me, you will realize that I'm a very humble person, except when it comes to sports. Then that's a whole different story. but, but other than that, I try the best that I can to stay humble. Um, I'm a very low key type of person. I don't try to be showy. Like I said, this experience is probably the most I've tried to put myself out there, because I'm just trying to try something different to get to a different outcome, because I can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. And, pretty much doing the same thing. So,
How do you deal in relationships with frustration or anger if it's towards your significant other?
Well, one of the first things I'll do is I'll try to never speak out of anger. Because when people are angry, they tend to say things that they don't really mean. Sometimes they can speak out of hurt. And so if I'm angry, I would want to have the ability to step away, to be able to calm down. And it actually takes a lot to get me upset, and really pray about my response. Because sometimes I can look at a situation, and if I think your motive was in malice, that's going to hurt me, because why would you want to hurt me if we're together? And so once, I pray about it and I sit in it, I want us to come to the table and have a conversation where we can calmly speak about whatever the situation was, come to a resolution. I want to understand why you did what you did. And hopefully I can have the space to speak my heart as into like, hey, this was either triggering for me, or I see this as disrespectful, but also give you the space to communicate that maybe it was something I did that triggered you. Maybe it was something that I did that you didn't like. I don't ever like to argue. I'm kind of a cool, laid back, silly person at times. And so I don't want to ever argue. Now I know we're not going to always agree, but I don't ever want to be in a situation where like I'm yelling or screaming at you, because I don't think a man should yell at his woman. I don't play that about my mom. I don't raise my voice at my daughter, and I won't do that to my woman.
All right, my next question. I guess I can gear it toward both of you guys since we're doing it like that. But so I'm an advocate of like mental health, counseling, therapy, all the things. I believe in Jesus and therapy, Jesus and counseling. So what does that look like for you guys? Do you both believe in getting counseling, or like if you're having issues in your marriage, or if there's something going on, independently, like do you guys believe in that, or what does that look like for you?
So actually, as of this month, I have been in therapy every Wednesday for 5 years. Therapy was something that I started before I got a divorce, and it's something that I stick with. Um, the neighborhood that I grew up in, the environment that I came out of, I know a lot of people don't make it out of it. And it's a lot of things that I've seen, it's a lot of things that I've done that I've come to realize is not normal. But because it was the environment that I grew up in back then, I thought it was normal. And so you never really understand how those things affect you until you allow yourself to go through a process of like therapy, and you open up and you start peeling back layers and you start to like dig through things. And it's like, yo, I never knew that this event that happened when I was 6 years old is still affecting me at 45. So I think therapy is very important, and therapy with Jesus is, I would just say, out of like these 5 years or whatever the case is, like I'm not the man that I was 5 years ago. I'm not even the man I was at the beginning of this year. Because if you continue to stick with it and you're open and vulnerable in therapy, it just, when you know better, you either have a choice to either do better or remain where you are. And I'm someone that rather do better than stay in a situation I know I shouldn't be in. So I am a big advocate for therapy. I tell any and everyone who would listen, like they should try therapy. They should go to therapy, because we deal with so much. And especially if you're someone that's not like, I won't go put my problems out on people because I'm usually the one everyone comes to with their issues and problems. So I know they may not be able to handle the weight of what I need to talk to. So I'd rather go to my therapist, have that conversation. That's someone who is a very, they're unbiased, and it helps me to work through my stuff because he doesn't tell me what to do, but he allows me the space to be able to navigate through it.
I would say for me, therapy is absolutely necessary. First and foremost, I truly believe your first therapist is your relationship with the Lord or Jesus. And on the human side, fortunately for me, I've never been to a therapist, but I have a network of people that I go to, that a brotherhood. Um, since I was in middle school, I've had two people who, whenever I have an issue, I can go to the point where at one point, the church I was a part of, they created a group, and through that group, we would go to, and as men, we would talk and get our feelings out, what's going on in our week, scripture, devotion. To this day, I still speak to those two individuals. Not only that, but I have a group of friends who I've met in college, who we keep going back to accountability. We keep ourselves accountable. At times, conversations get very uncomfortable. We've had people cry, we've had people argue, curse up a storm. But at the end of the day, we know that we're trying to make all of our each and every one of us better. We're all true believers. So again, since I've never had therapy in the traditional form, I still think that I get therapy through the people I stay in touch with.
What is your viewpoint on the spiritual realm and like spiritual warfare? What is your viewpoint on that?
My viewpoint on spiritual realm. What I would say is the spiritual realm is definitely real. Spiritual warfare is definitely real. I've experienced spiritual warfare. I've experienced the spiritual realm. It takes a person who's truly in their word, who's continuously praying, to be able to navigate both of those worlds, to be able to know where to begin, to be able to know when to stop, to be able to know when to listen to God, because through Him is the only way people can navigate that world. Now, that world is tapped into all the time through all sorts of mediums, arts, all sorts of things around the world. There's a lot of ways to tap into that world, but the only true way as a Christian to tap to be safe is through the Lord.
If you're single and looking for a faith-filled experience, apply to be on the next Meant to Be Singles Retreat. Who knows, your perfect match could be waiting.
Tune in next week for our final episode, where our singles will reveal who they believe is meant to be in the matchbox. It's all coming down to this very moment.
In the meantime, like, subscribe, and share so that we can further our mission of building more godly relationships and kingdom marriages around the world. Until next time, bye.